and involving myself in the industry, this is where I found that there were a lot of amazing medicinal healing properties to the plant. I mean, it's truly a miracle plant.
Okay.
So there is a lot of value besides just the economics, but the economics, especially in our communities, are going to be huge. So ultimately, that's how I started, was watching Colorado and knowing the economics of it.
Yeah, they were kind of the pioneer, I guess, one of the pioneer states, so to speak. Yes, no.
Well, I can't say. I mean, they became recreationally legal before we did, but we've been medicinally legal in California for 22 years.
Okay.
So we actually are the pioneers.
I went to a meeting. There's a group called Think and Grow Lab that is co-founded by Cherie Franklin, one of the mover stakeholders in the city of Los Angeles. Yeah, she kind of grabs onto an idea, and it was introduced to her, and she's like, cannabis? No. And then as she, no, I don't know about that. And she was on the show a couple months ago, and then as she got to do more research, she's like, well, wait a minute, let me backtrack. And then she saw that it was a prime opportunity for our community because we've probably been hurt the most legally from it. Our young men.
I don't think we probably.
We have been.
And are.
Yeah, we continue to be affected by the war on drugs.
Right, the war on drugs.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's why she got behind it. Mm-hmm. And Danny Shaker, the two of them started that. And so I went to some of the early meetings that they had, that they brought in all the entities to talk about it. And it was very interesting to say, okay, this could be a industry that if we get the information in a timely manner, we really could participate on the front end and create businesses. Gilbert and I, if you probably noticed, we're all about compliance and running businesses the way businesses are supposed to be run.
That's right.
And so that's how we see ourselves in this industry, is the ones that are maintaining and making sure we help people understand why compliance is so important to running their business, both in this space and any other space, but specifically in this space, because there's a lot of money that's going to go into actually having an establishment. On Tuesday, I mentioned to you that I had gone to a retail establishment that's in Chatsworth. And so when we're having this conversation about the startup cost of a business like this, by the time he got done, it's like, wow, that's close to almost $1 million to really do what you've done here. And over the time frame that he's done it in.
And much more.
Exactly. And he's constantly having to do some retrofitting, which is costing money based upon the regulations that are being, which is just the beginning regulations. So you know that they're going to continue to evolve as this go on.
They make it prohibitive so that people within our community will not get an opportunity to get a slice of that pie. You see what I mean?
Absolutely. I mean, there's very, very, I would say, high barriers that have been put in place to keep people of color out of the industry.
And that was going to be my next question to you. What type of barriers do you experience in that space?
I think one is the financial barrier. I mean, that's a huge barrier for people of color.
It is.
And they know that.
It is.
In any industry, not just this industry.
Because you can't get a loan from a federal entity for this. Because they don't support it.
You can't even get a bank loan.
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, even from a credit union that's not even federally insured.
Right.
I mean, and not only that, but I've been in meetings and they didn't know I was black,
right.
And so I've heard these VC people talk about how they were purposely not going to fund black-owned companies.
Really?
Especially cultivators. Yes, absolutely.
You know, wow. I'm glad we have you on the air right now, because we want to wake the town and tell the people. We want everyone to hear what's going on behind closed doors. So tell us what's going on. What are they saying?
Absolutely, and it's not even behind closed doors. It's very blatant.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you see the kind of racism that is out in this industry, I come from an industry where it was very sexist and very racist.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's still continuing in our industry, and that's why I started the whole movement of hashtag not in my industry, when all the Harvey Weinstein thing came out as well, because we experienced the same situations.
Yeah.
So it's about how are we going to now work with this?
Yeah.
How are we going to prevent this? How are we going to recognize it before it starts?
Yeah.
You know, things like that. And another barrier, of course, is the educational barrier. You know, unless we do the outreach, our people are not going to come out to meetings in downtown LA or Beverly Hills or Hollywood or even anywhere close. We have to go to the communities and really, you know, give them that type of opportunity to get the education. They're not going to come out.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine, she's one of the founders of the Hood Incubator, Lenice Martin. She was one of the ones that told us what was going on in Oakland. It's the same kind of situation. People don't even believe there's an equity program up there, so they don't even try to even apply. So again, we've got to do that outreach. That's why I think what you guys are doing is beautiful, because again, when you're talking about recycling dollars, that's very important for what's going to happen in the next like 5-10 years in our industry, especially if we plan to support our people of color in ownership. Because it's not just about consumers. It's about ownership. And that's why I tell people, okay, it's okay that you're spending your dollars, you know, in our own communities, but what about ownership? We need to own.
Yeah, we have to own.
Okay, that's very key, and we got to recycle those dollars in our communities. And what people have to realize is that, especially LA, we're the biggest market in the world for cannabis. Okay, so think about it. What about the demographics as far as people of color?
Interesting.
Okay, we are the consumer dollar.
Right, exactly. Yeah, we are. We're $1.3 trillion consumer.
That being said, we have to make everyone understand that unless they are willing to work with us and support us, then we can guide those people of color dollars to where we want them, as long as we stick together. And so that's going to be a key component to getting cooperation. You know, seriously.
And it's kind of part of what I was saying, collective economics, because some won't be able to move in this industry because of financial limitations and barriers, but others will. So you can help. And someone asked me the other day, where should we fit? I said, well, being an investor is a big thing, especially if you can't get dollars anywhere else, and becoming a partner instead of everybody trying to do it by themselves. Let's become a partner. So one of the things that Think and Grow Lab is doing is creating a distribution process and bringing everybody in a collective environment so that you can pool your resources and then take those resources and reinvest them back into the community or to a community pot, very much like they do in the Asian community. They help each other.
I'm half Korean, so that's exactly what we do.
That's exactly what happens, right?
Yes, that's exactly
what we do. You have this cooperative. You go there, I'm going to start a business. Here's your investment. You grow your business. Then you come back and you put back in. And that way the pot is always full. And it happens that same way in the Jewish community. And we have to adopt that principle.
Absolutely. And I think the key here is to really trust. You know, you really have to trust your people. If you don't trust, again, you go back to that mentality of, oh, I got to do it on my own. It's all about me. And it just doesn't.